The park bench had become Walter Chen's second home. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock, he'd shuffle down from his apartment building on Maple Street, carrying a paper bag of breadcrumbs and yesterday's newspaper. The pigeons knew his schedule better than most people did. He was 78 years old, though he felt closer to 100 most days. His suit was expensive, custom-tailored 40 years ago, but now hung loose on his diminished frame. His hands trembled when he tossed the bread, and sometimes he forgot whether it was Tuesday or Thursday, or if he'd already fed the birds that morning. People passed him without a second glance. Sometimes joggers would veer around his bench, annoyed at having to break their stride. Parents pulled their children closer when they walked by, as if age and loneliness were contagious. Walter didn't blame them. He'd become exactly what he'd always feared: invisible, irrelevant, a relic from a world that had moved on without him. The irony wasn't lost on him. 50 years ago, people couldn't ignore Walter Chen if they tried. Chairman and CEO of Chen Technologies, he'd built a semiconductor empire worth $800 million. Presidents had sought his counsel. Universities named buildings after him. His office had occupied the top floor of a downtown high-rise with windows overlooking the entire city. Now his view was a sandbox and a rusty swing set. He scattered more breadcrumbs, watching pigeons squabble over the largest pieces. A young couple walked past, the woman glancing at him with pity before looking away. Walter was used to that look. Pity was better than contempt, he supposed, though not by much. "Excuse me, mister." Walter looked up. A little girl stood in front of him, maybe 6 years old, with dark curls escaping from 2 lopsided ponytails. She wore a purple jacket with a stain on the sleeve and carried a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. "Yes?" Walter's voice came out scratchy from disuse. "Are you feeding the birds?" "I am. Can I help?" Before Walter could answer, a man's voice called out, "Mia, don't bother people." The man approached quickly, early 30s, wearing paint-stained jeans and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His work boots were scuffed, and he carried himself with the particular exhaustion of someone who worked with his hands for a living. "I'm so sorry," the man said to Walter, reaching for the little girl's hand. "My daughter doesn't understand personal space yet." "She's not bothering me," Walter said. "I was just about to share my breadcrumbs." The little girl, Mia, looked up at her father with pleading eyes. "Please, Daddy, can I feed the birds with him?" The father hesitated, studying Walter's face. Walter recognized that look, the calculation parents made, assessing whether a stranger was safe for their child. He'd made that same assessment countless times when his own daughter was young, when his daughter was alive. "Just for a few minutes," the father finally said. "I'll be right here on the next bench." Mia squealed with delight and plopped down beside Walter, setting her rabbit carefully on the bench between them. "I'm Mia. What's your name?" "Walter." "That's a nice name. This is Mr. Hoppy." She gestured to the rabbit. "He likes birds, but he's scared of them. So I have to be brave for both of us." Walter found himself smiling, the first real smile in weeks. He handed Mia a small portion of breadcrumbs. "Hold your hand flat like this. The birds won't peck you if your fingers aren't sticking up." "Like a princess offering treats to her subjects?" Exactly like that. They fed the birds in companionable silence for a few minutes. Walter showed Mia how to tell the different pigeons apart: the one with the damaged foot, the fat one who bullied the others, the small grey one who always hung back until the crowd dispersed. "That one's like me," Mia said, pointing to the small grey pigeon. "I don't like crowds either." "Smart bird," Walter said. "Sometimes waiting is the best strategy." Mia studied him with the unnerving directness of children. "Are you lonely?" "Mia!" Her father stood up from the nearby bench. "That's not polite to ask." "But you said we should ask people how they're feeling because it shows we care," Mia protested. Walter waved off the father's concern. "It's all right. And yes, Mia, I suppose I am lonely sometimes." "Me too," Mia said matter-of-factly. "I don't have a mommy, so it's just me and Daddy. And Daddy works a lot because we need money for rent and food and my school supplies. So sometimes I'm lonely even when I'm not alone." Walter's chest tightened. He glanced at the father, who looked simultaneously embarrassed and heartbroken. "I'm sorry," Walter said to Mia. "Being lonely is hard." Do you have kids? I did. A daughter. But she's not here anymore. Did she move away? Something like that. Mia considered this, then scooted closer to Walter. You can share Mr. Hoppy if you want. He's very good at making people feel better. She placed the worn rabbit in Walter's lap. The toy was missing one eye and had stitching that suggested multiple repairs. It was clearly treasured, which made the gesture even more profound. Thank you, Mia, that's very kind. My daddy says kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything. Walter looked up at the father, who shrugged with a self-deprecating smile. I try to teach her what matters. You're doing a good job, Walter said quietly. The father walked over, extending his hand. I'm Owen Reyes, and I think we need to get going, Mia. I have to pick up materials before the hardware store closes. Mia reluctantly stood, taking Mr. Hoppy back from Walter. Will you be here next time, so we can feed the birds again? I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock. We come to the park on Thursdays. Mia bounced on her toes. Can we, Daddy? Can we feed the birds with Walter? Owen looked uncertain. I don't want to impose. It wouldn't be an imposition, Walter said quickly, surprised by his own eagerness. I'd enjoy the company. Then we'll see you Thursday, Owen said. Come on, Mia, say goodbye to Walter. Goodbye, Walter, Mia waved enthusiastically. See you Thursday. Walter watched them leave, Owen's hand on Mia's shoulder, Mia chattering animatedly about the pigeons. Something in his chest that had been frozen for years began to thaw. Thursday arrived with rain that cleared by 2:30, leaving the park smelling of wet earth and fresh leaves. Walter arrived at his bench early, telling himself it was just his usual routine. Not that he was hoping to see a little girl with lopsided ponytails and her tired father. At 3:15, he'd almost given up when he heard, Walter, we're here! Mia ran across the playground, Owen following at a more sedate pace. She threw her arms around Walter's legs in an unself-conscious hug that nearly knocked him off balance. Mia, gentle, Owen called. Walter's not as sturdy as your playground equipment. But Walter was laughing, actually laughing, his hand resting on Mia's curly head. I'm sturdier than I look. They settled onto the bench, Mia in the middle, Mr. Hoppy on her lap, Owen and Walter on either side. Walter distributed breadcrumbs and they fed the birds together. So what do you do, Owen? Walter asked. House painting mostly. Some carpentry work when I can get it. Whatever pays the bills. Owen tossed bread to the small gray pigeon that Mia had befriended last time. Not glamorous, but it's honest work. There's dignity in honest work. That's what I tell myself when I'm scraping paint at midnight. Owen smiled, but Walter saw the exhaustion behind it. What about you? What did you do before retirement? Walter hesitated. He'd learned the hard way that mentioning his past usually changed how people treated him. They either became obsequious, hoping for money, or resentful, assuming his wealth had come easily. I worked in technology, he said carefully. Semiconductors. Like computer chips. Exactly like that. Mia tugged on Walter's sleeve. Do you have grandkids? No, sweetheart, I don't. Why not? Mia, that's personal, Owen said gently. But Walter found himself answering anyway. My daughter passed away before she had children. It was a long time ago, but I still miss her every day. Mia's expression turned solemn. She put Mr. Hoppy in Walter's lap again. You can borrow him whenever you're sad. That's what grandpas are supposed to have. Grandkids to make them happy. I'm not your grandpa, Mia. But you could be. Mia's face lit up. I don't have a grandpa. Daddy's parents are in Mexico and we don't see them. And my mommy left when I was a baby. So I don't have her parents either. So you could be my grandpa and I could be your grandkid. Owen's face flushed. Mia, honey, you can't just adopt random people in the park. Why not? He's lonely and I want a grandpa, and Daddy says family is who you choose to love, not just who you're related to. I say a lot of things, Owen muttered, looking mortified. I'm sorry, Walter. She gets these ideas. I think it's a wonderful idea, Walter said, his voice thick with emotion he couldn't quite hide. Both Owen and Mia stared at him. Really? Mia breathed. Really? If you'll have me as your grandpa, I'd be honored. Mia launched herself at him again, this time in a hug that Walter returned with trembling arms. Over her head, he met Owen's eyes. "You don't have to," Owen started. "I want to," Walter said firmly, "if you're comfortable with it." Owen studied him for a long moment. Walter saw him taking in the expensive but worn suit, the trembling hands, the loneliness that Walter couldn't quite hide. Whatever Owen saw, it must have satisfied him, because he nodded slowly. "Okay, but we take this slow. Get to know each other first. Make sure this is what everyone wants." "Of course," Walter agreed. Mia pulled back, her face split by an enormous grin. "I have a grandpa. Wait until I tell my teacher. Can I call you Grandpa Walter?" "I'd like that very much." The Thursdays that followed became the highlight of Walter's week. He started arriving at the park early, always with fresh breadcrumbs and sometimes a small treat for Mia. A coloring book from the drugstore, a chocolate bar. Nothing too extravagant because Owen was clearly proud, and Walter didn't want to overstep. He learned that Owen worked 2 jobs most weeks, juggling painting contracts with shifts at a warehouse on weekends, that Mia was in 1st grade and loved reading but struggled with math, that Owen's wife had left 3 years ago overwhelmed by motherhood and poverty, and Owen hadn't heard from her since. "Do you resent her?" Walter asked one Thursday while Mia played on the swings. Owen was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes. Mostly I just feel sad for what she's missing. Mia's amazing, you know. Funny and kind and so smart. Her mother's loss, really." "You're a good father." "I try. Money's always tight and I know Mia deserves more than I can give her, but I show up. I'm present." "That has to count for something." "It counts for everything," Walter said with feeling. In return, Walter shared pieces of his own story, about building Chen Technologies from nothing, about the 80-hour weeks and the gambles that paid off, about his wife Margaret, who died 20 years ago from cancer, about his daughter Diana, who'd been killed by a distracted driver when she was 32. "After Diana died, I threw myself into work even harder," Walter admitted. "Built the company bigger, made more money, acquired more assets. I thought if I could just achieve enough, build enough, matter enough, it would fill the hole she left. But it didn't. I retired 10 years ago, and suddenly I had all this time and money and nothing that mattered." Owen put his hand on Walter's shoulder. "You matter now. To Mia. To me too, if I'm honest." Walter felt tears prick his eyes. "You're good people, Owen Reyes." "So are you, Walter Chen." 2 months into their Thursday tradition, Mia caught a cold. Owen called Walter's cell phone. They'd exchanged numbers weeks ago to let him know they couldn't make it to the park. "I'm sorry," Owen said, sounding harried. "I know Mia looks forward to Thursdays, but she's running a fever, and I don't want to get you sick." "Is she all right? Does she need anything?" "Just rest. I'm taking the day off work, which I can't really afford, but..." "Let me help," Walter said impulsively. "Walter, no, we're fine. Owen, please, let me do something. I'm going to worry all day anyway." There was a long pause. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity, it's family helping family. That's what grandpas do, isn't it?" Another pause, then a sigh. "Her favorite soup is chicken noodle from that deli on 4th Street, the one with the blue awning. She says their noodles are the perfect softness. I'll have it delivered within the hour." Walter did better than that. He went to the deli himself, bought 3 containers of chicken noodle soup, fresh bread, orange juice, and the ingredients for the tea his own mother had made him when he was sick. He drove to the address Owen had given him months ago, a modest apartment building in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Owen answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, looking surprised. "Walter, I said delivery, not personal service." "May I come in?" Owen stepped aside and Walter entered a small apartment that was scrupulously clean but sparsely furnished. Mia lay on the couch wrapped in blankets, her face flushed with fever. "Grandpa Walter," she croaked, trying to sit up. "Stay put, sweetheart." Walter set his bags on the small kitchen counter. "I brought supplies." He unpacked the soup, the bread, the tea ingredients. Owen watched with an expression Walter couldn't quite read. "You didn't have to do all this," Owen said quietly. "I wanted to. Besides, I remember what it was like being alone with a sick child. Margaret was away at a conference when Diana got chickenpox, worst 3 days of my life. Walter made tea using his mother's recipe: ginger, honey, lemon. He brought it to Mia with a bowl of soup, helping her sit up enough to eat. "This is really good, Grandpa," Mia whispered. "Your job is to rest and get better. Doctor's orders." "You're not a doctor." "Honorary grandfather doctor. It's a very prestigious position." Mia giggled, then coughed. Walter stayed for an hour, telling her stories about when his daughter was young, about the time Diana tried to make breakfast in bed for Mother's Day and set off the smoke alarm. When Mia fell asleep mid-story, Walter helped Owen clean up the kitchen. "Thank you," Owen said. "Really, you didn't have to, but I'm grateful you did." "Owen, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you let me into your life? You didn't know anything about me. I could have been anyone." Owen dried a bowl slowly. "Honestly? Because Mia saw something in you, and she's never wrong about people. Kids have that gift, you know. They see who you really are, not who you're pretending to be." He paused. "Plus, you looked like you needed us as much as we needed you." "I did. I do." Walter set down the dish he was washing. "Owen, I want to tell you something. About my past. About who I was before I became that lonely old man on the bench." He told Owen everything. About Chen Technologies, about the fortune he'd built, about the investments and properties and wealth that had meant nothing after he lost his family, about becoming a recluse, about pushing away friends and colleagues until he had no one left. Owen listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. "So you're rich," Owen said finally. "Like, really rich?" "Yes." "And you didn't tell us because everyone treats me differently when they know. They either want something or they resent me for having too much. But you and Mia, you saw me. Just me. Not my money or my achievements. You saw a lonely old man and decided he was worth your time anyway." Owen leaned against the counter. "We're still worth your time, right, now that you've told us?" "God, yes, more than ever." "Then we're good. The money doesn't change anything, Walter. You're still the guy who feeds pigeons and makes my daughter laugh and shows up when we need you. That's what matters." Walter felt something break open in his chest. "I'd like to do more. Help more. Not charity, family. Let me pay for Mia's school supplies, her winter coat, the things you worry about late at night when you're calculating bills. Walter, please. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. Let me use it for something that matters, for people who matter." Owen was quiet for a long time. "Can we take it slow? I'm not comfortable with handouts, but I'm also not too proud to accept help when my kid needs it. So maybe we find a middle ground. Whatever you're comfortable with." They shook hands and it felt like sealing something important, a promise, a partnership, a family. Christmas approached, and Walter learned that Owen and Mia's tradition was modest. A small tree from the grocery store, homemade decorations, 1 present each that Owen saved for all year. "Last year I got Mr. Hoppy," Mia told Walter during their Thursday park visit. "He's the best present ever. This year I asked for books because Daddy says books are presents that keep giving." Walter's heart broke and mended simultaneously. Books are excellent presents. That evening, he went to the bookstore and bought every book on the first-grade reading list, plus classics, plus beautiful illustrated stories he remembered reading to Diana. He bought art supplies and puzzles, and a warm winter coat in Mia's size. Then he stopped himself. This wasn't about showering them with money. This was about being family. He returned most of it, keeping only the books and the coat. The books because Mia had asked for them. The coat because Owen's pride could accept it as a practical necessity. On Christmas Eve, Walter invited Owen and Mia to his apartment for dinner. They arrived bearing homemade cookies that Mia had decorated with alarming amounts of frosting. "Your apartment is huge," Mia breathed, staring around at the space that had felt empty and cold until they walked in. "It's too big for one person," Walter admitted. "I rattle around in here like a marble in a shoebox." Owen helped in the kitchen while Mia explored, exclaiming over the view and the fireplace and the grand piano that Walter hadn't played in years. "Do you play, Grandpa?" "I used to. Would you like me to play something?" He sat at the piano, his fingers finding the keys like old friends. He played carols, simple melodies that Mia knew and could sing along to. Owen stood in the kitchen doorway, watching with an expression that made Walter's eyes blur. After dinner, Walter gave Mia her presents, wrapped simply, nothing ostentatious. She tore into the books with uninhibited joy. "Daddy, look, it's the whole series I wanted. And this one has pictures and, Grandpa Walter, this is too much." "Nothing is too much for my granddaughter." The coat came next, purple with stars on it, warm enough for the harsh winter ahead. "It's beautiful," Mia whispered, hugging it to her chest. "Try it on," Owen encouraged, his voice thick. It fit perfectly. Mia twirled, the coat flaring around her, her face luminous with happiness. "Thank you, Grandpa Walter. This is the best Christmas ever." Owen and Mia gave Walter his gift, a framed picture that Mia had drawn. It showed 3 stick figures on a park bench surrounded by birds. "That's you, that's me, and that's Daddy," Mia explained, pointing. "And those are our pigeon friends. Mr. Hoppy is there too, see?" Walter couldn't speak. He just held the picture, tears streaming down his face. "Did we make you sad?" Mia asked worriedly. "No, sweetheart. You made me happier than I've been in 20 years. Later, after Mia fell asleep on Walter's couch, Owen and Walter sat by the fireplace. "I need to tell you something," Owen said. "I got a job offer, a good one. Stable painting contract with benefits, better pay. But it's in Portland, we'd have to move." Walter's stomach dropped. "Portland, that's 3 hours away." "I know. And I don't want to take Mia away from you. But this job, it's the kind of opportunity that could change our lives. I could give her stability, save for college, maybe even buy a small house someday." "You should take it," Walter said, though the words felt like swallowing glass. "Walter, Owen, you're a good father. The best I've ever seen. You can't turn down that opportunity for your daughter because of an old man in a park. You're not just some old man, you're family. Then we'll make it work. Portland isn't that far. Visits on weekends, phone calls, FaceTime, we'll figure it out." Owen looked relieved and guilty simultaneously. "I hate this. I finally found someone who makes Mia light up, who makes me feel less alone. And now I have to choose between you and her future." "You're not choosing. You're doing what's best for Mia. That's always the right choice." They sat in silence, watching the fire, both contemplating the end of their Thursday afternoons. "Unless," Owen said slowly. "Unless what?" "What if you came with us?" Walter stared at him. "To Portland?" "Why not? You said yourself this apartment is too big. You rattle around like a marble in a shoebox. Portland has parks and pigeons and probably much better weather than here, and you'd have family nearby." "Owen, I can't just uproot my entire life." "Can't you? What's keeping you here? Memories, because you can take those with you, or you can make new ones with us." Walter looked at the drawing Mia had made, at the stick figures who'd become his family, at the future stretching before him that could be full instead of empty. "Let me think about it," he said, but he already knew his answer. 6 months later, Walter stood in his new apartment in Portland, significantly smaller than his old place, but filled with light and laughter. Owen and Mia lived 2 floors down, close enough for daily visits but separate enough for healthy boundaries. He'd sold his apartment, liquidated some investments, and moved across state lines at 79 years old. His former colleagues thought he'd lost his mind. But every Thursday at 3 o'clock, Walter sat on a park bench with his granddaughter and her father, feeding pigeons and talking about everything and nothing. Mia was thriving. Better school, new friends, music lessons that Walter paid for, and Owen had finally accepted. Owen was thriving too. Steady job, benefits, actual savings for the first time in his adult life. And Walter had found what he'd been missing for 20 years: purpose, connection, family. Not the family he was born into or the one he'd lost, but the family he'd chosen and who'd chosen him back. "Grandpa," Mia said one Thursday afternoon, "I wrote about you for my school assignment, about family heroes." "What did you write?" "That heroes don't have to save the world. Sometimes they just have to see people who are invisible and decide they matter. Like you saw us, and we saw you." Walter pulled her close, this child who'd called him Grandpa when everyone else called him nothing at all. who'd reminded him that it was never too late to start over, to build something new from the broken pieces of the past. "I love you, Mia." "I love you too, Grandpa Walter." Owen smiled at them both, and Walter thought about the park bench where this had all started, about the loneliness that had brought him there, about the little girl who'd seen a sad old man and decided he deserved kindness. He'd spent 50 years building an empire worth hundreds of millions. But this family, this love, this second chance at mattering to someone, this was worth infinitely more. And it had all started because one little girl refused to let him be invisible. Because she'd looked at a lonely old man on a bench and seen something everyone else had missed. She'd seen her grandpa. 5 years after that first meeting in the park, Walter celebrated his 84th birthday surrounded by family. Owen and Sarah's house was full of noise and life. Mia, now 11, helped Jake with his homework while Sarah cooked dinner and Owen set the table. Walter sat in his favorite chair, the one they kept just for him, watching the controlled chaos with deep satisfaction. "Grandpa, come help me," Jake called. "I don't understand this math problem." Walter heaved himself up, slower now, his joints stiffer, but still mobile, still present. He sat beside Jake, walking him through the problem with patience learned from years of explaining semiconductors to investors who didn't understand technology. Mia appeared with a wrapped present. "Can Grandpa open his gift now?" "After dinner," Sarah called from the kitchen. "But I can't wait." "Let her give it to him," Owen said, winking at Walter. "We all know she'll explode if she has to wait another hour." Mia thrust the package at Walter. He unwrapped it carefully, revealing a photo album. The cover read, "Our Family Story." Inside were pictures chronicling their years together. Walter on the park bench with young Mia, the three of them feeding pigeons. Christmas in Walter's old apartment. Moving day in Portland. Mia's plays and Jake's first day of school, and Sarah and Owen's wedding. Birthday parties and holidays and ordinary Thursdays that had become extraordinary through repetition and love. The last page held a recent photo, all 5 of them at the park on that same bench where it had started, feeding pigeons together. Below it, in Mia's careful handwriting, "Family isn't who you're born to. It's who you choose to love. Thank you for choosing us, Grandpa Walter. We choose you too." Walter couldn't speak. He just held the album, tears streaming freely down his weathered face. Mia climbed into his lap, too big for it really, but she managed, folding herself against his chest like she used to when she was small. "Don't cry, Grandpa, it's supposed to make you happy." "I am happy," Walter managed, "happier than I ever thought I'd be again." That night, after dinner and cake and more presents than Walter needed, after Jake had fallen asleep on the couch and Mia had gone to bed, Walter sat with Owen and Sarah on the back porch. "I've been thinking about my legacy," Walter said, "about what I want to leave behind." "Walter, you don't need to talk about this now," Owen started. "Yes, I do. I'm 84. I'm healthy, but I'm not naive. And I want you both to know what I've decided." He pulled out papers from his jacket. "Everything is set up. Trusts for Mia and Jake's education. The house is yours, free and clear. There's enough to ensure you never have to worry about money again." "That's too much," Sarah whispered. "It's not nearly enough for what you've given me. But there's one more thing." Walter handed them another document. "I'm establishing the Mia Reyes Foundation. It will fund programs connecting isolated seniors with families who need grandparents. Because what we have, it shouldn't be rare. It should be available to everyone." Owen read the document, his hands shaking. "You're funding it with $20 million. It's just money. But maybe it can create more families like ours, more lonely people finding connection, more kids getting grandparents who choose them." Sarah was crying openly now. "You're an incredible man, Walter Chen." "I'm just a man who got lucky. A little girl saw me when I was invisible and decided I mattered. That changed everything." Walter lived 4 more peaceful years, long enough to see Mia enter high school and Jake start 3rd grade. Long enough to attend every play, every concert, every parent-teacher conference he could manage. Long enough to become the grandfather he'd never thought he'd have the chance to be. When he passed away peacefully in his sleep at 88, surrounded by photos of his chosen family, the funeral was packed with people whose lives he'd touched. former colleagues, community center families, and recipients of his foundation's work. But in the front row sat his real legacy: Owen, Sarah, Mia, and Jake. Mia gave the eulogy, 15 years old now, poised but tearful. "Grandpa Walter used to tell me that the best things in life come from unexpected places," she said. A lonely old man on a park bench, a little girl who wanted to feed pigeons. From that small moment, a family was born. She held up a worn, stuffed rabbit, Mr. Hoppy, still treasured after all these years. "Grandpa Walter used to borrow this when he was sad. So I'm putting Mr. Hoppy with him so he'll have comfort wherever he is now. Because that's what family does. We comfort each other. We show up for each other. We choose each other, again and again." After the service, Owen and Mia returned to the park, to that bench where it had all begun. They sat feeding pigeons from a bag of breadcrumbs Owen had brought, remembering the man who taught them that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by choice, by seeing someone who's invisible and deciding they matter. Walter Chen had spent 50 years building an empire worth hundreds of millions. But his greatest achievement was built on a park bench with breadcrumbs and a little girl brave enough to call a stranger grandpa. And that achievement, measured not in money but in love, would live on forever in the hearts of the family who'd chosen him, just as he'd chosen them.